Hello and welcome to Westmapod, the Christie Time podcast about Agatha Christie's secret identity. I'm Dr. Mark Aldridge. I read and write about Agatha Christie a lot, including my books Agatha Christie's Marple, Expert on Wickedness, and Agatha Christie's Poirot, the greatest detective in the world.
Yes, and I'm Gray Robert Brown, and I'm a writer, and I'm a Christie fan, and I'm a Mary Westmacott fan.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, the gang's back together. We're starting all over again, brand new series. So for those who don't know, although, hello, I'm assuming several of you here do know, but we've been making a podcast called The Swinging Christies under our Christie Time umbrella, Mark and I, for what feels like 700 years.
It has aged us terribly.
Hasn't it? Hasn't it? And we've had a blast. That's been so fun and so informative. And yeah, we were just sort of casting around for what else we wanted to talk about. And this seemed to be the perfect opportunity.
We go through our huge checklist of things that we want to do.
Yeah.
So we literally have spoken for, well, since we recorded probably episode 2 of the Swinging Christies about, and next we might do that. And then after it, perhaps we could do that. And plans have changed.
Yes.
You know, we were going to do something else.
That's
in fact,
true.
2 other things I can think of that we were going to do. But these things gravitate towards us in the end, don't they?
Yeah. You know, one of the things that we did in the Swinging Christies was to kind of shine a light on something that was not being as widely spoken about in the mainstream of kind of Christie readership. And this is doing the same thing. It's another portion of her catalogue that doesn't quite get the love that we think it deserves.
Yes.
I was going to say this is our second, so that means this is our second project together, but actually we've done quite a few little projects together now.
I guess we have.
Having only met in 2022.
2022.
Imagine that.
I know. Some of which is not announced as we record.
No, true.
But probably will be out in the world by the time this goes out. Agatha Christie wrote 6 books under the name Mary Westmacott, which is, of course, what this Westmapod is all about, which are quite unlike most of what she wrote under the name of Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
That's what we really want to explore here, isn't it?
Yes.
So who's Mary Westmacott?
Who is Mary Westmacott? Yeah, I think it's going to be quite the journey of discovery. I mean, we know, of course, it's Agatha Christie writing under a pseudonym, and we'll reveal more about this in our first proper episode in 2 weeks' time. That was a secret when it began, which is why we're saying, you know, Agatha Christie's secret identity, her secret alter ego almost. And I think one of the things that we're looking forward to discovering is we all know what the Christie characteristics are. We all know what the Agatha Christie characteristics of her books, they're popularised their, you know, tropes in adaptations and they're all over the world. What's specifically Mary Westmacott? You know, can we pin down who this kind of shadowy cipher is?
Considering her as part of Agatha Christie's writing career, but also as like a different identity.
Yeah,
because it's, we will come to so much of this, so I don't want to speak about it too soon. But it's interesting reading some of them. But some of them I feel I can really read Agatha Christie in them, and some of them feel really distinct.
Yes,
which we'll really unpack.
And
unpick as we go through.
Yeah, you said the other day that I won't give away which one, but you said there was a part of the book where you felt like it really didn't read like her at all, and then it became more her, using air quotes as it went on. Stuff like that, I think I've not really heard people talk in that way about the Westmacotts before, and certainly not in this kind of mainstream way. I think they're often something that's reserved for the diehard Christie fans, and we're raising awareness more broadly of what brilliant books they are, what interesting books they are.
Absolutely. And who is Agatha Christie? Because Agatha Christie, a woman of many names in lots of ways, but Agatha Christie did not write the Mary Westmacotts, by which I mean, by the time she started writing them, she had divorced her first husband, Archie Christie.
Yes.
She was with her second husband, Max Mallowan. So actually, the Westmacotts were only ever written by Agatha Mallowan. And so I don't say that just to be sort of a quirky bit of trivia, but a huge part of her life had passed by the time she was, you know, tackling these books. And I think you can really tell that. And I think when you read some of her stories that aren't crime stories, that are much more about characters and personalities and relationships, which is what the Westmacotts tend to be about. The earlier ones are a bit more naive, as in they tend to be quite straightforward. And by the time we get to the Westmacotts, she's older, she's 40 when she's starting to write them. That maturity, that sense that she knows the world a bit better, absolutely underpins these stories. So it's not Agatha Christie, the person who wrote Mysterious Affair at Styles.
Yeah.
It's Agatha Mallowan, who's seen a bit more of the world.
But also, we could go even further and say, it's not Agatha Christie, because Agatha Christie is this, concept. She, like you say, it's essentially a pseudonym. It's her retaining the name from her first marriage. But also, especially nowadays, it's a brand and it's a genre totem. Those words stand for something. And I think what we're really keen to do, what we're always keen to do, is get to the real woman who lived, the real person, the real creator beneath the chatter.
It's funny that how often I said, even before we knew each other, I remember having discussions with David Braun at HarperCollins to say, what are you going to do with the Westmacotts? Because obviously they're sold sort of alongside Agatha Christie's, but they don't get all of the big re-releases and special editions that maybe other titles do. But I think they chug along quite well. And they've never really had that treatment because they do fine, right? For the types of books they are, there's no problem there. But for me, that's a shame because it means that you never quite get the moment to spotlight them.
Yes.
And say, right, these aren't just something else. And, if you're a completist, you might want these as well.
Yes.
They're a different part of Agatha Christie as a writer. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of why she's not quite as widely known as she might be is also because they haven't been as consistently in print in America as over here. Over here, you've always been able to get hold of them pretty much. But I know in America, there was a while that you couldn't really get them. And there might still be a couple that are tougher to find there. So there's that thing about out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. Funnily enough, I was in Winchester the other day and I went to 2 bookshops. They obviously had no idea that I knew anything about Agatha Christie because I now happened to be browsing, and behind the counter they were saying, we've had a real run on Agatha Christie, and it's all young people coming in.
No
someone
way.
said, do you think it was like tourists or something? And they were like, we don't think so. It was just lots of local people. And then I went to a second
because
bookshop.
we were in town.
Because we were in town. And then I went to a second bookshop and it had a little shelf mark saying Agatha Christie. And the only thing they had was one of the Westmacotts. The only thing they had was Absent in the Spring.
That's so interesting. I'm sure, because I remember tweeting when I was in India about the Christies that I spotted out and about. And I'm sure that in one of the bookshops in Fort Kochi, I think I found some Mary Westmacotts, and that's the other side of the world, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we that's it. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to blow this up, Mary Westmacott. We're going to put her rightfully a bit more on the map than maybe she has been in the past. We're going to boost David's sales, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah. So the 6 Mary Westmacott books.
Yes.
First one published in 1930 called Giant's Bread.
And then there's Unfinished Portrait, which was published in 1934.
Absent in the Spring, 10 years later, 1944.
Yep. And then The Rose and the Yew Tree in 1948.
There's A Daughter's a Daughter in 1952.
Yep. And then finally The Burden, which is published in 1956. So Dr. Mark Aldridge, what's your relationship with Mary Westmacott? Have you been reading Mary Westmacott for as long as you've been reading Agatha Christie?
No, I haven't, no. When I was a teenager, I looked at my mum's Agatha Christie collection because we both had mums with Agatha Christie collections.
We did.
So we're having a look to see if everything was there. And I noticed that she didn't have the Westmacott.
Mine didn't either. Oh my God, you're stealing my answer.
Oh my
and this
God.
is exactly what you did in the do you remember in the intro for the Swinging Christies? We started doing this like question and answer thing, and you started speaking. And because we haven't, so peek behind the curtain, we usually plan these out and we'll like discuss what the other's saying. But this is one of the few times, and that was another time that we didn't give our answers in advance. And that's so funny.
So I bought Mum the Mary Westmacotts.
Of course you did.
Birthdays and Christmas over a course of a couple of years.
Which editions?
Oh, just whichever the paperback ones were at the time.
Nice.
So
this would have been the 90s.
Yeah. So
were you buying them just so that you could read them?
Do you know, I didn't read them at the time. I bought them so that the collection could be complete.
Because that's more important.
That's the important thing. No, I actually didn't read one until I was writing Agatha Christie on Screen, which I started to write in 2013.
Yep.
And one of the first things I did was read all the Agatha Christies, because there were maybe 15 that I hadn't read at that point, mostly the sort of thrillers. And then I read the Westmacotts, even though there weren't any screen adaptations. I felt I should in case there was something. So I read them then, but I read them quite quickly, to be honest, because I knew that there weren't adaptations to discuss.
Yeah, because it was more background residual reading for the project you were working on at the time rather than directly relevant.
And since then, I've reread 2 of them. I won't say which, because we'll talk about them later when we come to them, a few times, because Sophie Hannah discussed them in one of the courses she ran, and she invited me to come speak about them. Apart from those 2, several of these I'd only read once before we started to do the reread. So I've actually, at the point that we're discussing, I've still got to finish The Burden again.
Yeah.
How about you? Or shall we just cut that answer in again and just repeat it and say this is...
Yeah, could do. No, I mean, it is similar. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I'm really excited to embark on this project with you, because I think our relationship to the Mary Westmacotts, most readers' relationship to the Mary Westmacotts, will be very different to the relationship we had, for example, with the books 1959 to 1970 that we covered in the Swinging Christies. So in that instance, both of us had read... Well, you had read them all. I'd read most of them quite far in advance of starting the podcast, and indeed had been back for rereads and had digested them and picked over them and scholarship and all the rest of it. And I think what's really interesting about this, so I only read, the first time I read any of the Mary Westmacotts was when I was getting into Agatha Christie scholarship, if you like, the year that we met, so 2022, so really not that long ago at all. And as a result, with the Westmacotts, because I've read them more recently, I think I'm going to be able to bring this fresher, more instinctive, more immediate response. You know, rereading and redigesting is really beneficial in many ways, but you maybe lose that first impression, that first rush of feeling about anything creative. So I'm looking forward to being able to capture that this time round.
I tell you what I would love to know, is there anybody out there who read a Westmacott before a Christie? Like, as in, that was the first time they read anything. Like, they hadn't read any Agatha Christie's, but they read a Westmacott.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to know if anyone did that.
Yeah.
And what led you to that scenario?
Probably accident, like you were saying about going to that shelf and seeing, or, you know, I think they're very careful. We'll talk in a future episode, I'm sure, because it's one of the many interesting things about Westmacott, about the way they've been packaged over the years to kind of skirt around the fact that on the one hand, you want to sell it on the name of Agatha Christie rather than just the name of Mary Westmacott, or certainly since The Secret came out, which we'll talk about when it does. But to what extent you highlight the fact that it's a pseudonym of a famous writer, and to what extent you sort of sneak that in is something that various editions have grappled with. So maybe people have read it by mistake, you know, not mistake, but
just accidentally, just happened to be one they picked up. I noticed in one of my copies, which is a second-hand copy, at the front page, someone's written week 12 at the top of it. So it clearly was a reading for them. So I wonder if that was on a crime fiction module that had, and also these authors writing other things, or whether it was discussed in its own right. So again, let us know if you've studied any of these. I'd be interested to know what sort of courses and what sort of context people are discussing them. That would be something that'd be really nice to hear about. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, in general, we'd love to hear from everyone listening about their experience with the Westmacotts. We'll give the contact details at the end, and do use the hashtag #WestmaFan, because I'm trying to make that happen. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take credit for the podcast name.
Oh yes, it's definitely.
I think it's excellent.
I think it's excellent. Yes, we'll allow that.
So we've said a bit about this, but what are you looking to discover along the way on this magical journey, Dr. Mark Aldridge? What do you think?
I'm looking to discover what it's like experiencing Mary Westmacott on her own terms.
Yes.
Like, rather than as...
Good answer.
I had just read them at the end because I want to be a completist, but just saying, okay, this canon, these 6 titles, what actually is this writer like? What can we learn about her? And yeah, so that's what I really want to get a sense of. Also, as we're always interested in time and context, and these were written over the course of 3 different decades, and I'd be interested to see how they reflect the changing world. I had loads of things to say about that for Giant Spread, but I'll save it.
Yes, do. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we always say the 60s were an incredibly turbulent time. We've literally built a podcast on that premise, but my God, weren't the years 30 to 56 a turbulent time as well? And the world of 1930 compared to the world of 1956, especially in British society, is massively different. So yeah, there will be lots to pick over there. I guess something that will benefit that is kind of reading them in isolation a bit, which is kind of what we want to do with the format of this series, where we're really honing in on these 6 books. Because yeah, like you say, they have long been relegated slightly to being supplementary. But also, I think there's a reason why not many Agatha Christie fans, and maybe Sophie Hannah is one of the few exceptions I can think of, but there's a reason that not many Agatha Christie fans put Mary Westmacott's at the top of their list of favourite Agathas. And it's the same reason why a lot of those fans don't put thrillers at the top of their list. And that's because when they come to Christie, what they really want is a classic Golden Age puzzle mystery. And one thing the Westmacotts aren't are murderous tales. Spoiler, but there we go. If you're feeling bloodthirsty, you might find a distinct lack of bodies along the way. But there is so much in terms of suspense and tension.
Yes.
So there are plenty of reasons to read on still. But I think it would be interesting to not read them for what they're not, i.e., and I've been saying this about the thrillers for the last 8 episodes of Swinging Christies, but not reading them for what they are, not for their lack of cluing or their lack of classic character tropes or country houses, but for reading what there is there, really celebrating what there is there. I think as well, we were talking about this on the walk back from the train station earlier, but the Swinging Christies, we went in with a very clear argument, I guess, not as in we were arguing, as in there was a very clear point of view. There was a very clear point of view that we had throughout that series, which was these books are unfairly lesser known or forgotten in some cases. They're just as interesting. There's just as much to pick over. And in some cases, the quality is just as strong as in previous works, but also that they really are contemporary and in a word, swinging. Although there is an element of us bolstering the reputation of lesser known Christies again, I think what's going to be really interesting about Westmapod is that we're not really coming into this with a set point of view this time, are we? Or not in a sort of...
No, not at all.
Not a set argument or, people say... for many years, the Westmacotts were described as romances, and that's been pretty squarely rejected by the Christie kind of readership community, I would say. So it will be interesting to see how many of them do have romantic subplots, but it will be also interesting to see how many of them don't and fail to fit that model. And in recent years, it's been more popular to describe them as psychological, emotional thrillers or that kind of thing, which I suspect is just another way of saying a literary novel, because that's what literary novels deal with ultimately, is emotions. But I'm open to being persuaded. I'm going to go to the Westmacotts again, like I say, relatively fresh, and let them tell me what they are. Let me, and that way we will discover who is Mary Westmacott.
Yes, we've got lots to learn, basically.
Yeah.
And hopefully people will come along with us on the journey to learn new things for them too.
So, what can you expect from now, dear listener? Well, we're doing a book per episode.
Yes.
So that's really exciting, because one of the things, and actually it was something I insisted on with the Swinging Christies, but we were very keen from the off to go thematically, which, don't get me wrong, was fantastic for so many reasons. It made us quite distinct in terms of the other Agatha Christie podcasts out there, but it meant that we couldn't have the experience of kind of reading along with our listeners, because it was essentially like read 15 books and then turn up for episode 1. So this time we get to do book club style. We get to pause, all read a book, and then come together and discuss it together every fortnight. So that's what we're going to do. Each episode will be about a different Mary Westmacott title, and they will drop every other Tuesday. And there may be surprise bonus in there if we're feeling very generous.
Because we do want to hear from people, which has been lovely with Swinging Christies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we will make sure that we have an episode where we are going to be reflecting on the feedback that we've got and any extra things. So do feel that you're part of this conversation, because we really do value the insights, especially because these are so under-discussed that there's just no way we could cover it all. 2 weeks today, then, we'll be dropping the Giant's Bread episode, which is the first Mary Westmacott book. So you might want to read that up. That's the longest one, by the way. If you take a look and you think, oh gosh, are they all going to be this long? That's a particularly long one, but I think very readable. Do let us know any thoughts as we go through. And we'd love to see pictures of your copies as well. We were just looking, I've got a few different copies because I shove like secondhand copies in my bag and stuff for like general day-to-day reading. And so often they're weird 1970s cheap editions. So wherever you are in the world, we'd love to see which copies you are reading. Different
editions. And also wherever you're reading them as well. I quite like seeing that when people send us a snap of Cat Among the Pigeons in Spain or something. Yes. It's super lovely to see it.
And of course, Gray's hashtag Westmafan.
It's not Gray's hashtag. It's all.
You were very insistent.
It's all of our hashtag from now.
Yeah. Our Blue Sky account is at christietime.bsky.social. On Instagram, we're at christie_time. You can email us at christietimepod@gmail.com. That's christietimepod as in productions @gmail.com. Our website is christietime.com, which has got lots and lots of resources. You can find Gray on his website at grayrobertbrown.wixsite.com/grayrobertbrown. And I'm on Blue Sky at markaldridge.info, which is also my website. And of course, you've got my books about Marple and Poirot.
Yes, that's Agatha Christie's Marple, Expert on Wickedness, and Agatha Christie's Poirot, The Greatest Detective in the World. And yes, please do rate and review us. We're fully independent. It really makes a difference in terms of getting the word out. And yes, and make sure you've clicked subscribe on whichever podcatcher you use to catch us as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Westma bye.
Westma gone.
Where's he gone? Westma gone. Oh God, that's so lame.
That's even worse.
We did need one though after Keep Swinging, didn't we? We did need a catchphrase. Incredible. Thank you so much for listening. We're so excited to embark on this new adventure. So Westmapod is a Christie Time project by Dr. Mark Aldridge and Gray Robert Brown. This episode was recorded on the 17th of January 2025.
Our artwork is designed by Tom Double.
And our music is by Dar Golan. Yep, and then The Rose and the Yew Tree in 1948.
A daughter's...
I forgot.
Oh dear. There's only 6 to remember. Oh my God, my memory is really going already.
He's had one beer. And I've had a Corona Zero.
Oh yeah, don't keep that in.
Because it's dry January.
Yeah. Actually, he was very insistent that I had not that
because I didn't want you to have my zeros.
Yeah.
Even though you bought them.
I bought them specially. Gray arrived.
I appreciate it.
He has a selection of vegan chocolate, vegan biscuits. I bought you herbal tea.
Oh, thank you.
Corona Zero. We've just had vegan stir fry.
We did.
Which wasn't that tasty.
The chicken was good.
Chicken was good.
You got the expensive stuff.
It's 3 for 2 in Tesco at the moment.
Huh?
I know. But
he's doing well for himself, listener.
Tesco
he bought the good stuff.
Stir fry sauce would not recommend.
Stop it! We're trying to get a sponsorship deal. Oh my God! Yeah, from Tesco. We could be, the 2007 Spice Girls Christmas.
Oh my goodness!
Campaign.
Around.
Could be us.
Yeah.
This time next
just
Christmas, that could be us, Rodney.
Oh my goodness, Rodney, Agatha's favourite name.
A daughter's a daughter.
Oh dear!
Come on, it's only 48 minutes. 38 minutes until the Traitors.
Which, by the way, if the Traitors producers are listening,
Oh yeah, we should be on
available.
We should be on it.
I did think of applying last year. I put something on Twitter or something about it, and Tony Medower said, "Oh, you should actually do it," and sent me like a link to the application.
Really?
And I did think there might be something to be said about an Agatha Christie, scholar going in and seeing can they solve it. But it's obviously entirely instinct, isn't it? It's not evidence-based
and it's luck
at all.
Yeah.
It's no evidence-based.
Yeah.
Which is why there are sometimes slightly problematic orders of people going home. But anyway, we'll save that for the Traitor podcast we're doing in 3 years.
Yeah.
No. God, no. There's a Daughter's a Daughter in 1952.